Assalamu alaikum. Right, we're going to do take 2 on this show tonight. My name's Rebecca Masterton. You're watching Ahlulbayt live on ABTV. Sorry, the sound just went a little bit earlier. My guest is Dr. Al-Hilli, and tonight we're going to be talking about concentration in prayer. But before we continue, we just wanted to again ask our viewers to read Surah Al-Fatiha for Imam Abdullah Dadu, who has been sadly killed in Belgium. We pray and beseech all Muslims around the world of whatever school of thought to wake up to the fact that killing is not going to resolve anything. Please read Fatiha for Imam Abdullah Dadu. And we send condolences to his family as well. To continue with the topic, concentration in prayer. As I said before we came back on air, this is the issue of Salah is so central, and yet we really don't give it enough thought. I think. So tonight, inshallah, we're going to be talking a little bit about, first of all, you wanted to raise the aspect of submissiveness in prayer, or khushu'. Can I ask, first of all, why you wanted to raise this, and what is the definition?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. I'd like to first of all also send my condolences to the family of the Imam who was killed in Belgium today. And it's a great tragedy, unfortunately, to see such a terrible event happening. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite this ummah, to bring people together, and to remove this hatred from people's hearts. I started thinking a lot about concentrating in prayer a few years ago when it struck me that we pray 3 times a day, 5 prayers a day, and it's a daily process, you know, and wake up in the morning, we pray Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, but then again you start to feel, how much am I getting out of this prayer? You know, is it really benefiting my life? Why am I doing this? Is it just a physical exercise where you get up and go down and things like that? Or is there something, if there is some benefit in my salah, then why am I not getting this benefit? Yeah. Is there something wrong in my salah? Am I doing it not, you know, incorrectly? So all these questions came in my mind, and I thought, surely there must be an answer. Surely there must be something that I'm doing wrong. So I went on a journey to try to investigate further into what's going on. So when you try to investigate further, we've all heard so many lectures about salah and khushu' from our ulama and the respected scholars, but you know, when we hear about them, you know, we understand that, you know, the salah is important. Yeah. We have to pray 5 times a day. You know, it's one of the pillars of Islam, etc., etc. But have we actually paused for a second? Right, in our fast moving life, it's such a fast moving life, you know, have we actually paused and just thought for a few minutes? We do some tafakkur, contemplation, which is very important. Yeah. Right, just think about, what am I doing here? What am I doing when I approach a salah and say Allahu Akbar until I say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh? Right, what's happening here? Is it just because, as I said, because, you know, I have to because I'm a Muslim? So, you know, when people come and tell me, ask me, what are you doing going up and down and things like that? I tell them, well, you know, it's part of our faith and we have to do that. Yeah. Is that the answer? Or is it much more deep than that? I think it's much more deep than that. In fact, it's not me who thinks much more deep than that. It's when you read the Quran, it tells you it's much more deep than that. And as you rightly said, is the concept of al-khushu' in salah. There is a difference between a salah that you just pray for the sake of praying because you're a Muslim and you have to pray, right? And there's a difference also between a salah that has this khushu' in it. A salah, when you approach a salah, you are in an environment where you do not pay attention to anything else that is happening around you, but only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your heart is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? There's a huge difference between the two. And I'm pretty sure brothers and sisters who are watching this will really relate to what I'm actually talking about, because this issue everyone's inshallah is actually practicing it, you know. So when someone talks about these things, people say, you know, they actually relate to this. They think, yeah, you know, this is you know, my salah was like this, it should be like this. Or in the Quran, if we start off with the Holy Quran, there's beautiful ayat in the Quran. When we go back to the Quran and we try to investigate this issue about al-khushu' in Surah Al-Mu'minun, right? Surah Al-Mu'minun starts off talking about who are the mu'minun, the true mu'minun, right? Who are the true believers. And it says at the start, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Qad aflaha al-mu'minun. At the start, it says that the believers are eventually victorious. Yeah. They will win. And when you first start to read that, you think, yes, fantastic, I'm a mu'min. I've called myself a mu'min. Yeah. I'm going to win. I am victorious. I am victorious over all the non-mu'mineen. But then again, wait, I tell you. Go to the next ayah. It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. That's the first thing. Then I ask myself, and I ask my brothers and sisters, are you still the mu'min you thought you were in the first ayah?
Basically saying those who have khushu' in their salah.
Absolutely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُصَلُّونَ. Those who just pray. Because inshallah all of us pray. But there's a very, very, very important difference between الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُصَلُّونَ and الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those who actually have khushu' in their salah. Now, this poses a very interesting question. It says, does that mean that I'm not a mu'min if my salah doesn't have khushu'? Yes, that's what it means. That's not my interpretation. Go back to the ayah. This is what it means. It means that if you do not have khushu' in your salah, then you're not really a mu'min. And this is striking. It was really striking for me when I first read about it. I thought, surely I'm a mu'min, I'm praying here, right? But then you think, no, you're not. If you really don't have this khushu' in your salah, you're not a mu'min. So what is this khushu'? What is it? What is this khushu' that the Al-Quran is talking about? What is missing in my salah? Now, the concept of khushu', very, very simply, right, is this relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart and mind, right? I can't describe it in words. I think every single mu'min, inshallah, every single mu'min, every single believer will understand what this khushu' means. There isn't an English word that, you know, we talked about submissiveness, right? We can talk about devotion to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincerity and things like that. But there isn't one word. If you go back to the dictionary, it says, oh, al-khushu' doesn't have an English translation, right? Al-khushu' is just this relation, your heart is related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your mind during salah, right? You're in a completely different environment. Let me give you an example. Al-A'imma, when they used to pray, especially when they used to be in prisons, when the leaders of their time used to take them to prison and imprison them unjustly, they used to fast during the day and pray during the night, right? But it was narrated that our A'imma when they used to pray, their eyes used to go red after because of their weeping, their crying. Their feet used to go blue because of the time they stand. Their face used to go yellow, etc. They used to change color because they're someone else. Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he was during the battle, when the time of prayer used to come, he used to go and pray. But then when he was praying, the enemy used to hit him with arrows and things like that. And then the people with him, they used to come and take the arrows off him. And then when he used to finish the prayer, they come and tell him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, didn't you feel all this? He said, do you not know who I am talking to now? Do you not know who I am in front of now?
Yeah.
We don't have, I can say for myself,
no.
I don't have such a concept where when I say Allahu Akbar, if someone actually comes and hits me, I say, oh, I don't feel that. I'm completely somewhere else. I haven't reached that. But this is the ultimate reach of al-khushu' and salah. This is where your heart and mind is completely devoted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
So it's not just, it says here, absence of haughtiness or humility, or it says here a complex of different morals, feelings and intentions, all of which are directed to Allah, the fruit of which is compliance through physical action. I wonder if it's also absorption in Allah.
Yeah, you see what you have narrated there, it's very nice, but then
so dry.
I can't. I speak to myself. I try to be a very much practical person, right? I don't really understand what that means. But what I try to understand. What I try to understand. I'm a simple person. You can say, right? This is probably for really intellectual people. But what I understand is that when I want to approach a salah, right, I want to keep my mind with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's not scary, by the way. And of course, when I talk about this to people say, look, there must be a prerequisite here. And I say, what is that? And you say, you have to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. And I say, yes, of course, you have to, when you're a mu'min, you have to come in. Every Muslim comes and prays, right, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But however, I truly believe, and we will come later on into the benefits of salah, I truly believe that as-salah, one of its many benefits is that it will strengthen this link between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you do not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then pray.
Yeah.
But pray with a conscious mind. Now, inshallah, this is the first of three inshallah shows that we will touch upon in the next in the final two shows. We will talk about the real practical ways to try to concentrate on salah. What happens before salah, preparation for salah, when you say Allahu Akbar, when you enter salah, when you read Surah Al-Hamd and the other surah, and then during ruku', sujood and things like that. We have come with a way to try to make the mu'min a practical way to make us try to focus more into a salah. Inshallah.
And another thing, that is linked to this submissiveness, of course, is sincerity, or ikhlas, as it's called. I think it's interesting in terms of it reminds me of the narration that says don't think about the sin but think about who you've sinned against.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I do reflect on this, and I think, well, in order to, it's correct, in order to pray properly you have to have that kind of conception or some knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, yes, you don't approach with the right attitude or manner or the right respect. Even I'm sure many of us don't even approach the musalla or the prayer mat. We don't approach the whole salah with the correct respect that it deserves, let alone when we're starting to open the prayer as well.
Absolutely. It's just I hope, and from my very, very humble view here, is that I hope, inshallah, our brothers and sisters watching this, they will try to relate, think about really what's going on in their life in terms of their salah life. Let's all pause, let's all, just relax now as you're sitting watching this show, right? Just sit down and try to, perhaps after the show, because now you're listening to you're watching the show, so you can't. But after this show finishes, then perhaps what we can all do is to try to sit down and try to contemplate. In the Quran, the issue about contemplation, let's take it seriously. In the Quran, it says, الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those people that remember Allah when they're standing, sitting down, and they're lying down, and contemplate the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you have a problem in trying to prove the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart, then try to do some sort of contemplation. Try to find out why is there, why does Allah why do people say there is a God and things like that. But I do genuinely believe that as-salah will lead you to that. And so my very, very humble advice to my brothers and sisters is to try to think about what are we actually doing here when we are praying.
Okay. We'll have to continue this after the break. Thank you very much. You're watching Ahlulbayt Live on Ahlulbayt TV, and we're thinking of practical ways to improve our salah. Inshallah, we'll see you after the break. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Ahlulbayt Live on Ahlulbayt TV. We are talking about the benefits of salah, how we can improve our concentration in salah. And if anyone has any questions or comments, do feel free to call in. There was a caller who called in just before we went to break, so please do call back with your question, or you can leave your comments on Twitter as well. The tag should be on the screen as well. Obviously, it is interesting that the salah is so central to, actually doing the salah, practicing the salah is so central to Islam, because we can think of other religions where there are certain practices where you take it or leave it. You can do it or not do it. But there are so many narrations on how, the difference between belief and non-belief is the salah.
Absolutely.
And I was thinking this even means that even if you're struggling with your concentration, or your iman has taken a bashing for whatever reason, don't give up on the salah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are so many benefits of salah. But just before I go into the benefits of salah, I would like to say this to our brothers and sisters, the viewers, is that please be patient with us explaining. Because sometimes you need to, because perhaps people are really waiting for the practical steps to they're really wanting to know that, how can I improve my concentration. But I find that it's a part of the whole package. Before really trying to practically concentrate into salah, you need to lay a few foundations. And these foundations, you have to have it really strong in your heart. You have to make sure that you understand these concepts of salah before you can actually go to the practical sense. So inshallah, our brothers and sisters will be patient in terms of allowing us to try to explain some issues about the salah before we go into the practical. So yes, if we go back to Al-Quran Al-Kareem, we go to the Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 238. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أتل ما أوحي إليك من الكتاب وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Right? It says, recite what is sent of the book by inspiration to thee, and establish regular prayers. Now, this is where it comes. It says, for prayer restrains from shameful and unjust deeds, and remembrance of Allah is the greatest thing in life. Remembrance of Allah is the great, because it also tells you why we are praying. Because we remember Allah in the morning, we remember Allah during al-Dhuhr, we remember Allah al-Asr, we remember Allah al-Maghrib, we remember Allah al-Isha, and then we sleep. There's very, very, highly recommended that you pray Salatul Layl, which you remember Allah as well, Salatul Layl, and then you sleep for a bit, and then you wake up Salatul Fajr, and then you remember Allah as well. right? And then in between them, if you can read the Quran, you remember Allah, so you're always in constant remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? But going back to the ayah, it says, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ. Now, let's just focus on this really important issue. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, look, if you pray as-salah that I have told you to pray, then I give you a guarantee that this prayer will restrain you from shameful and unjust deeds. It's a guarantee. This is what when I was reading this, I was doing a reality check. I said, Ali, look, if you pray properly, right? Now, some people might argue, it says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Inna salata tanha. But then again, you come and go back to قُدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. You go back to, it says salah and khushu'. There's a huge similarity.
This is what it means when it's saying Salah will protect you from degrading yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
But again, the type of Salah we're talking about is obviously that with sincerity.
With sincerity, yes. With Salah, that submissiveness, this Salah that, as we said at the start, that you have this link with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout your heart and mind. And if we focus on this, إِنَّ الصَّلَاةَ تَنْهَى عَنِ الْفَحْشَاءِ وَالْمُنْكَرِ, the Salah will restrain from shameful and unjust deeds. You think about it, if it does that, then why do we have so much corruption in this world? Why do so many of us have, do all sorts of different, sins and things that we regret and things like that? Let's just pose a question. How many of us today have actually been angry since the morning till today? If a husband and wife have some sort of an argument in front of their children, you've sort of
colleagues at work,
you've said something that you shouldn't have said, the akhlaq and things like that. All of this wouldn't happen if our salah was with khushu' and our Prophet salah. This is Allah saying, it's not me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, He's saying, I give you a guarantee. Then you ask yourself a question, is this my acts and deeds during the day where I have fights with my wife, I have problems at work and things like that, is this a result of my bad prayer? I say maybe.
Yeah.
There might be some other factors, but I say maybe, right? And so if you go back to the Quran, as Quran says, we will definitely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely help you, right, in restraining from all these unjust acts if you pray the salah properly. And that is one of the benefits, the main benefits of the salah.
It's also quite interesting that, obviously it says as well, when we pass into the akhirah, when we leave this world, as long as our salah is in order, then everything else is in order.
Absolutely.
Also it's recommended, there are also narrations that say, obviously don't think about worldly things when you're in your salah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is in charge of your worldly things.
Absolutely.
So I find salah an interesting exercise in submission, in letting go, because in our worldly life we're constantly trying to keep a control on everything, manage everything, and so projecting into the future, thinking about what we need to do, and it's a very interesting exercise in just completely letting that all go.
Absolutely.
And just trusting, putting that trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is managing everything.
It could be the opposite, you see. You say that, a lot of people, you think that they use the opportunity that there is a salah so that they can not think about worldly things and things like that. But sometimes the opposite, people will, when they enter salah, everything comes in. And I'm pretty sure everyone relates to that. When you say, probably not thinking about anything. And when you say, Allahu Akbar, and then comes in, why did you do that? Why did Liverpool beat blah blah? At half time they should have done this, and things like that, etc. Why didn't you say this to your wife? Why did you, etc. Everything comes in your head, and then suddenly you start to think, which rak'ah am I now? Right? So it's people, unfortunately, and I'm one of them, we use salah to rest our brain in terms of go back and try to find out, you know, my worldly things, what, you know, what's happening, why did I do that? It's an opportunity for me. It should be the opposite. It should be when you're not praying, you should think about, oh, why did this happen? And when you enter salah, so it's a very difficult, you know, a reverse equation, if you like. We're trying to reverse this whole equation, where the equation says, if you pray, then think about something worldly. Now, this is what a lot of people do. We want to reverse this equation and say, no, if you pray, do not think about anything that is worldly. And that's very, very difficult. If I may just also talk a bit about, you know, the benefits of salah. There's a hadith from Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It says, "Man lam tanha salatuhu anil fahsha'i wal munkar, lam yazdid min Allahi illa bu'da." He says that if your salah does not result in you restraining from these unjust deeds, as like how the ayah says, right? If it's not the result, if you can't see that in your life, then you are distancing yourself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more and more, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is way, I mean, metaphorically speaking, way further than what you think. And of course our goal is to always be very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are of course other, Imam Ali alayhi salam, Amir al-Mu'mineen, says, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّ كُلُّ شَيْءٍ مِّنْ عَمَلِكَ تَبَعٌ لِصَلَاتِكَ. Everything that you do in life is a result of your prayer. This is astonishing. Right. Everything you do in your life, everything, from going to sleep, from talking to people, from you know, from how do you treat your family, etc., from whatever at work, everything you do, your acts that you do, is a result of your prayer. If your prayer is not good, it doesn't have khushu', then, as we said, your actions will be bad. If your salah has khushu' and your deep thinking thoughts with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then your salah and then for your actions in life are very good.
I just want to say again something personal, that when I you know, came into Islam, started to practice Islam, because again I used to be like a little bit reactive, you know, sort of in terms of you know, reactions to things people say or things people do. And I remember observing, I was on a train once where some people were kind of laughing about hijab, basically making kind of indirect sideways jibes and comments in my direction, and all I did was just to face them. That's all I did, was just to face them, and then they went completely silent. And I got off afterwards, and I thought, that's all I did, and I just thought that wasn't from me, because I didn't feel kind of the need to kind of react, you know. And I think this is the training that gradually you're trained to you know, not respond to. I mean, in that case, it would be responding to you know, anger, or it would be the nafs that's responding. So. And so it does happen without your, you know, always being aware of it. But that's definitely another, as you say, another form of training.
Absolutely. I mean, there's you know, another narration from Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is fantastic. If we all just try to contemplate on this particular hadith, you know, all our salah will be, you know, have khushu' in it. It says, لو يعلم المصلي ما يخشاه من جلال الله ما سره أن يرفع رأسه من السجود. He says, if the worshipper knew to what extent his Allah's mercy surrounded him during prayer, again another benefit, Allah's mercy surrounding him during prayer, he will never raise his head from the state of prostration. Never you will raise your head. We do, you know, some people say that when you do sujood, you do it, it touches your forehead very quickly. You know, some people just do, you know, just touch like that, and they go, Subhanallah. But Imam Ali alayhi salam said, if you really actually knew this mercy that surrounded you during prayer, another benefit of salah, right? If we just understood, contemplated about this, we will never raise. But a lot of us, We would just quickly want to raise our forehead from the turba because from sujood, because I've got something else to do more important than salah, obviously, right? than me doing sujood, right? So so I have to hurry up here. So and then there's, if I may, there's a fantastic ayah that again just emphasizes that there are so much rich ayat in the Quran. Well, all ayat are rich, but the interpretations, and if we try to understand these ayat, it gives us so much information. In chapter 19, ayah 59, it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةِ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. What does that mean? Starts to talk a bit before that in Surah Al-Maryam. This starts to talk a bit about the prophets, Ibrahim, etc., Musa, and then it says there are other people, right, that followed these prophets and things like that, but then they started to miss prayer. And the one of the interpretations I read, it says that these are perhaps Bani Israel, those people who have had the message, they were told the message, right? But then slowly they started to miss the prayer, right? But where's the really interesting connection here is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, who missed prayer and followed after lusts. So if you concentrate on this, it says that أضاعوا الصلاة, those who missed prayers, and so therefore واتبعوا الشهوات, so therefore they followed their lust, which means that those people who actually pray have this barrier that stops them following their lusts, right? But if you start to miss your prayer, and I actually try to, in my view, interpret it that if your prayer doesn't have much khushu' in it, then this barrier will be removed and you start to follow your lust. Right? So another benefit of a salah, if you pray and you pray it with khushu', then you have this barrier that will stop you following lust. And it's beautiful. It's all mentioned in the Quran.
We've just got a couple of comments that came in on Facebook. I don't know if we can answer these right now, but we can try. Someone has said, why in Maghrib, Isha and Fajr do we recite aloud, but in Dhuhr and Asr we recite quietly?
I mean, there are hadith that state, pray during the Fajr and Maghrib and Isha loudly, and during the Dhuhr Asr, quietly. So it's based on certain authentic ahadith that we do that. But I don't think our brothers and sisters should concentrate on this. I think for me, I hope everyone will forgive me for saying this, but for me, I think there's much more important issues here. And which is, of course, I need to know why we do this or this and that. But let's just try to, first of all, try to understand what is the need and benefit of a salah, and then once I understand this and I have this connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then I will try to make sure that I fulfill this promise that I am a mu'min, when it says قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Remember, I would like to remind myself and my brothers and sisters that you are not a mu'min if you do not have khushu' in your salah. It's not me who's saying this. Go back to the Quran, the first 2 ayahs of Surah Al-Mu'minun, right? It says قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. And we ask a question, until when? And the Quran has asked this question, Sister Rebecca. It said, the Quran has said, until when until when do people, when will people start to have khushu'? It says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in chapter 57, in ayah 16, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. It says that, has not the time yet come for those who believe that their hearts should be submissive when remembering Allah? Al-khushu' Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, has there not, I've given you so many signs, I've given you, the inspiration, I've given you so many benefits of a salah. I've told you, oh my servant, there are so many benefits of a salah. Just I want you to concentrate on me. Do I not deserve, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I am your Lord, do I not deserve you give me a few minutes of your time? If I wanted to go and meet, if I have an interview of some kind, I go and prepare for it, and I wear the best clothes, and I put the best perfume in case they smell my perfume, and I go and sit down, and then concentrate fully into what they are saying, every single detail of the question and things like that. And he's just a human being, he's an employer who potentially can employ you or not. But this is Allah. You have an appointment, 5 appointments. Well, 3 appointments, but you have 5 prayers a day, right? With Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your creator. Does he not deserve at least one of those appointments? Let's just say, inshallah, in the next 2 shows, we'll talk a bit more about, concentration and prayer, practical ways to try to, really practical ways, not like theoretical. Let's all suddenly just become 100%, concentrating, but really practical ways. But doesn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says here, أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, isn't it time? I have given you everything. Come on, it's time for you to at least give an effort to try to concentrate in the prayer. At least just give an effort.
I think there are certainly we talk about being our thoughts interrupting our salah. And I don't want to just be so completely negative, because I know there are times when, and I'm sure we've all felt this as well, where you've been sort of being outside in the city and whatever stresses, and or you've been on a long journey, and you get to your prayer mat where it is always, for example, in your home or wherever it might be, and we can definitely feel those benefits.
Absolutely.
I mean, I find that when you stand on there, then you feel that and you make your intention towards the Kaaba. You do have that kind of that peace, that relief that comes. And this is something as well that I noticed again when I was coming into Islam, and I started, and I'm sure this would be for people, even born Muslims who are started to practice again and started to pray again.
Absolutely.
That interesting what you say about sujood, where you can feel something. It's very interesting, the practice of sujood, where you feel the burdens from your shoulders being lifted.
Absolutely beautiful.
And as you say, unfortunately, and this is what is even more incredible, is that although we have already experienced the benefits, the peace and the burdens being lifted, even then we don't, it's not an incentive, I want to pray better next time. It'll be, this time I'm distracted, and this time I'm not in a good mood, and so.
I mean, it's interesting you mentioned this, because I keep on saying in the next 2 shows people are sick of it now, but inshallah, next 2 shows we'll follow every single act of a salah, and we'll try to also talk a bit about the spiritual side of things. But it's interesting also you say that about anger, because in preparation for salah, how many of us just come just before we want to pray, we're either angry, fed up, either or probably ecstatic about something,
laughing about something,
joking with friends, joking, about this thing, sorry mate, I just have to pray for that. You take the tawbah, Allahu Akbar, Bismillah, you're hearing your friends still joking and things like that, and then when you finish your prayer, you have no idea what you've just said, but most importantly, you finished your prayer, right? And how many of us just go through this? And I find it, I say this on TV, I've done this, right? And I'm not, I actually say it with deep regret, but, I have done this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that as well. But don't we think this is disrespectful?
I
mean, if we'll respect our parents, if our parents were waiting for us, just waiting, and I keep on talking to friends, and things like that, and I'll come to talk to my parents, but I'm not really paying attention to them, I'm still listening to it, and I still, things like that. That's disrespectful to my parents. What about this is Allah? Let's all wake up here. This is Allah.
Okay, thank you very much. We've got to go to break, and it's a time for some contemplation during the break. Inshallah, we will be back after a few minutes. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Ahlulbayt Live on Ahlulbayt TV with Dr. Ali Al-Hilli, and we're talking about the benefits of Salah, and we were just talking about, again, sort of having the right respect when you go on the prayer mat, that again having submissiveness or khushu', as it says before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is really again about having the right respect for Allah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that you can't just kind of get on your prayer mat in a kind of careless way and just do your salah and finish and feel that you've done your salah.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the question to ask is, what about time? You know, a lot of people think that, okay, you know, I'm going to show this respect to Allah, right? But at my own time.
Yeah.
You know, there are some people, unfortunately. You know, I was told off once at work. You know, I've sort of changed now, but you know, the previous my line manager, they used to say that, you know, we've noticed that you know, sometimes go out and pray. Why don't you just pray all of it at once? And this guy was a Muslim.
Right, okay.
He was a Muslim as well. Now that's the disappointing part.
Yeah.
Why don't you just sort of combine all of them at night? I do that. He told me I do that.
Oh, wow.
So why don't, so obviously he's missing the whole point.
Yeah.
And it poses a very important question. What about time? Right? And if we go back to Al-Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَإِذَا قَضَيْتُمُ الصَّلَاةَ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِكُمْ فإذا اطمأننتم فأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة كانت على المؤمنين كتابا موقوتا. When you pass congregational prayers, celebrate Allah praises, standing, sitting down and lying down. So basically celebrating, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ, or lying down, or on your sides. But when you are free from danger, this is free from danger when they used to be during wars and battles and things like that, set up regular prayers, right? For such prayers are enjoined on believers at stated times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, as we stated before, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us stated times. Morning, remember Allah. Wake up, remember Allah, right? Drag you out of your beautiful sleep. It's such a beautiful sleep. And you think, you know, alarm goes, oh no, just, you know, snooze it. And then you go down, snooze it, you know, snooze it. But sunshine, you know, there's going to be a sunrise in 5 minutes. Get up quickly, go and pray, and things like that. Unfortunately, that seems to be the norm. Unfortunately. Well, inshallah it's not, right?
I just wanted to say, someone joined me to a group, and I have to say this because it's very interesting. The title of the group is, "You think you're strong? Try lifting your blanket at Fajr time."
Yeah, absolutely.
So something.
I'll join that as well. But the issue is that we don't have this concept of time. But there are so many benefits of time. The first benefit, as we mentioned, is you remember Allah. Remember Allah in the morning, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib. Remember Allah. That's the first thing. The second thing, it actually structures your day. Actually gives you the concept of time. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, "Usikum bi taqwallah wa nazmi amrikum." Imam Ali says that I advise you to fear Allah and structure your life. Structure your life. No, you know, unfortunately we have the youths that, you know, perhaps weekends or during the day, some people unfortunately don't have work, wake up, stay until 4 or 5, you know, 3 or 4 sleep, and they don't wake up for Salat al-Fajr because he was really sleepy at 3 because they've slept late, right? And that's a very important thing. You know, happens to all of us. But you can't give an excuse to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, you know, you woke up and it's already been sunrise. Why didn't you sleep earlier? You could sleep, if you think you're a heavy sleeper, sleep at 11. You know, sleep at 10:30, 11. If you think you know you wake up, and you know, the time is going to change in the UK here, and you know, we're going to have the Fajr time earlier. You know, so it's going to be, so summertime is going to be longer during the day, and then, so you know, if it's going to be the Fajr time around 3 and you sleep at 1, obviously you've gone into deep sleep. So you can't really wake up at 3 o'clock or 4 or whenever sunrise is after that. So anyway, you can sleep early to wake up for Fajr. But then again, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to structure our day. You know, in the morning, Dhuhr, Asr, you know, Maghrib, Isha, you have a beautiful structure, and we can organize our life based on this time.
It's also, there's again just some observations that, you know, you think to yourself when you are, you know, praying at Fajr time. These are very special moments of the day.
Absolutely.
And you think to yourself, actually, the people in this city or the people in my town who are not Muslim, who are not, you know, other people might be of other religions being up as well at this time, but people who aren't are missing a very special, very pure moment.
Absolutely.
And also the same with Maghrib. I think the same with Maghrib, where Maghrib, you know, for us is a significant time of the day. It's the turning of the day into the night. It's that. Again, it's another special moment of sort of transformation.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then, but you look again around you in the city, people just carrying on as normal.
Carrying on as normal.
It's like, okay, day, night, it doesn't matter. You know, no difference.
Absolutely.
So.
And it's amazing this if you think about this time issue. You know, when Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is calling for you, He says, "Oh mu'min." Remember, am I a mu'min? That's the first question to ask. But oh mu'min, pray. It's Allah's calling.
Yeah.
You know, oh mu'min, it's the time of the prayer. Allah's calling. Oh mu'min, pray. You think, what? I'm better finish watching this show first, then I go to prayer, and then quickly after I finish the show I will go and pray, because when I pray, you know, I'm still going to remember what's happening in the show, so I will concentrate nothing. I will not concentrate. If I may, there's a beautiful hadith which was narrated in by Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and was written in Adab al-Salah of Imam Khomeini. It's an amazing hadith. If we really find out what's the true meaning of this hadith, it says, "Man salla salawat al-mafruḍat." Right? Riwayah an Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, "Man salla salawat al-mafruḍat." Whoever prays the obligatory prayers, right? في أول وقتها, at the start of his time. Right? Some people say that, you know, here, you know, means that أول وقتها means you pray at the time where, you know, you're allowed to pray.
Right, okay.
But, you know, it also has this interpretation where you pray at the start, the time of the prayer. في أول وقتها وأقام حدودها, and you actually do is prerequisites. So there are prerequisites which we'll talk about, inshallah, of the prayer. Sorry. رفعها الملك إلى السماء. After you finish your prayer, so I've come in and said, Allahu Akbar, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Al-Malik angel will come and take this prayer. Lift it to the sky. Right? Bayda naqiyya. You know, the prayer is white and pure because you prayed it on time. Right? Take it. And the prayer is actually saying, Hafadhakallah kama hafadhtani. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take care of you as how you took care of me.
Wow.
استودعني ملك كريم. A beautiful malik, an angel, has taken me to the sky. Now, if you pray this on time. However, وَمَنْ صَلَّاهَا بَعْدَ وَقْتِهَا, whoever prayed it after his time. Again, you know, there are interpretations that say if you miss the whole prayer, you know, but let's, you know, say here that if you miss this 1 hour period, the start of the prayer, وَمَنْ صَلَّاهَا بَعْدَ وَقْتِهَا مِنْ غَيْرِ عِلَّةٍ, without an excuse. This is also quite important because, you know, you have to have a very legitimate excuse not to pray it on time. وَلَمْ يُقِمْ حُدُودَهَا, and you did not practice its prerequisites. رَفَعَهَا الْمَلَكُ إِلَى السَّمَاءِ. Again, the Malik will take it, the angel will take your salah to the sky. Right? سَوْدَى, black, dark, مُظْلِمَةً. Right? وَهِيَ تَهْتِفُ به ضيعتني ضيعك الله كما ضيعتني. It says, you have lost me. May Allah lose you as how you have lost me. ولا رعاك الله كلا لم ترعني. And may Allah does not take care of you like how you did not take care of me. It sounds quite horrific.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
But it just gives you both. If we take the both interpretations, as is in the time of the prayer words, when it says Allahu Akbar, adhan, it says Allahu Akbar, now you have to pray, or even the importance of salah. Even some people say that, you know, I just don't have time. You know, I don't have time during my work to pray, so I come back home and pray. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What sorry?
Yeah, I have to say, I do believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help people to find a way of praying at work. And I heard a similar thing with people say, I don't pray anymore. well, you know, work got in the way, and you know, and you think, okay, but it's all part of striving to establish that. And I know even in the financial centre of London, down in Canary Wharf, you know, they even have a prayer room down
Friday
there.
prayers, I heard.
Yeah,
in Canary Wharf, they have even our brothers have come up, and you know, the people who work in Canary Wharf, they have come, and you know, they've established Friday prayers there, and it's so. I think it's easy to do. You know, I have a friend who says that he asked when he was employed in his job. He asked his employer, his boss. He told him, "I have just one thing to ask you," and he said, "What is that?" And he said, of course, this person wasn't a Muslim, his employer.
Yeah.
And he told him, well, I have to pray, you know, during work. And he said, that's absolutely fine. He said, okay, look, I'm going to give you this office. This is all for you to pray, right? And please tell me, what else can I do? And then what else he did, if I remember correctly, he said it was a glass door. He started to cover the glass door so no one can actually interfere with this guy while he's praying.
Amazing.
So this guy knew more about concentrating in prayer than a lot of us do, right? The non-Muslim thought, okay, prayer means concentrate, and prayer means devotion to Allah or to your Lord, right? So therefore, no one can distract you. And a lot of the people, I mean, I've lived here for quite a time, and you know, you very well also know that a lot of people here are understanding. You know, the employees are understanding. They tell you, you know, you have something you need to do, you know, which is personal. You know, and you want to pray, that's absolutely fine. We have, of course, universities, prayer rooms, at work, just find a small space. But it is not an excuse. And some people say, oh, you know, he's harsh. But al-Maraji' say that. You know, our respected scholars say that it is forbidden on any mu'min to leave a salah. Even in all sorts of circumstances, you have to find you know, because there is opportunity for you to pray. Even, you know, some people give examples that when you're sort of coming down from, you know, falling from the sky, and the time of prayer comes in, you can pray with your eyes. The time of prayer, just pray with your eyes. Even then, you can't leave it. Some people, you know, a lot of people travel, and when it's time of the prayer during in the plane, they say, oh, how am I supposed to pray? But go back to ulama. They say you can. Some ulama say you're allowed to pray while you're seated, right? And some of them say, you know, you just stand up, or if there is space in some airlines, you know, just go and pray. There's no excuse for anyone to leave their prayer.
Also, it's a good way of just I'll say getting people used to salah, and you know, I mean, I've seen Muslims pray in museums, you know, and it's a good way of I think, especially, you know, non-Muslim countries of normalizing it. I do know, in fact, I spoke to one sister who's Russian, and in Russia it is very difficult. I know that it's much harder than here. Someone was discovered to be praying in the country. It's the culture where you're deeply suspect if you pray, and he was praying secretly and was found out, and I think he was even fired. But I would say it's part of the struggle. It's not easy. I mean, I've worked in places where they're not Muslim, and somehow you have to find a way of praying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there are people out there in this world. I mean, I gave an example of Britain. I think British people are very understanding of this issue, but of course, as you rightly said, there are people who find it much more difficult. But still, you know, this person who got fired, I think that he will get so much thawab in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, you know, he got fired because he devoted himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He you know, this was the test. This was the test, and this was if we go back to the battle of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that was the main issue. You know, making people prioritize what's more important. Is it more important that I devote myself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or just more importance for me work and get money and things like that? And I'm pretty sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the door with more other opportunities for you. If you got fired from here, you will get employed from but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to test you, as you rightly say. And can I also say that you know, all this said about concentrating in prayer and khushu', it sounds, you know, quite difficult and things like when people say, and people have practiced it difficult. It's okay for us at the end of all this to say, I think it's okay let's not despair that, you know, we're not really finding this concentration. It's okay, right? But however, what's important is that we should strive to try to concentrate in our salah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows his servants, right? He knows, He has created us, so perhaps He expects us not to fully concentrate in our salah. And you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows the weakness of his servants, then I'm sure, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive us, inshallah, for not concentrating much on our prayer.
Or if we ask for assistance for concentration.
Absolutely, we ask for assistance, but there's no excuse in us sitting down, right, in our couch and watching TV and then going and praying and things, because you're asking for it. If I'm really angry and shouting and things, or I'm laughing, as we said before, and I go and pray, I'm asking for it. I'm asking for not concentrating, you know. But I can set the environment, at least one of my prayer. Inshallah, we'll talk about this more later in other shows, that one of my prayer, let me just devote it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is perhaps, you know, it's a good
way to start.
Absolutely, it's a good way to, perhaps then you start to make it.
I mean, of course, we want every salah should be, you know, as we say, devoted, but as you say, with specific preparation and intention. There's something else I read about the benefit of praying on time, where the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, in Kanz al-Umal, he says the example of the 5 daily prayer is like, oh, we know that one. There's another one, here it is. I have a covenant, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I have a covenant with my servant that if he offers his prayer at their stipulated times, I shall not chastise him and shall place him in paradise without any reckoning. Absolutely. So,
but I mean, you might ask, why did he say that? And you know, let's always ask why. You know, why did he say all this? Because this is much benefits of that, time of salah. Not just because, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, and that's the ultimate thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to pray on time. But then there are benefits for that, and as we said, there's structure, and your structures your life, and things like that, and you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And as Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, surely when a person engages in prayer, his body, his clothes, and everything around him glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. We did have one question in again on the Facebook that says, why shouldn't you close your eyes in prayer? I know that there's some kind of discussion between, there are different narrations on whether it's permissible or recommended or discouraged to close the eyes in salah.
I mean, as far as I am aware, it's not forbidden to close your eyes during prayer, as far as I am aware. But I don't claim to be a scholar. But in fact, in some instances, I think it might help you to concentrate in your prayer. But some people might say, during Fajr prayers, it is makruh to close your eyes because you might go to sleep and things like that. I have heard that may be the case. But inshallah, we will elaborate further on this.
Inshallah, we can look at that for the next program. Inshallah. And yes, I mean, there's also some narrations about obviously carelessness as well. As you were talking about people who do sajda very quickly, and even the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, has said someone who prays like that, he says, this person pecks as a crow pecks. Should he die and the state of his prayer be as they are now, he shall surely not die upon my religion.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, it's interesting, don't you think, that the reason he said that he should not die upon my religion, I mean, he's not a mu'min or a Muslim.
Yes,
Well, you can say he's not a Muslim, but certainly he's not a mu'min, right? And that goes back to the ayah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, right? Those people who don't, they just do quickly sujood and things. Obviously, they don't have the khushu' in them, so they're not mu'mineen. Right? There are hadith that say that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept accept your prayer into how much you have actually concentrated. So if you've concentrated 50% of your prayer, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept 50%. And and things like that.
And also it's recognized that I have also read, and sorry I don't have the narration exactly here, but again that yes, it is acknowledged that your mind can wander, but the point is that you bring yourself back.
Absolutely,
you bring the mind back
I mean,
to that concentration.
I mean, what we wanted, I know we don't have time to talk much about attention. How much time we have?
We just got 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
So perhaps in the next, if I may, in the next few minutes, just and inshallah we'll finish about this later on, is that this concept of attention is actually a cognitive process. When now what we've done today, just to recap to everyone, is that what we've done today, we've talked a bit about al-khushu' fi salah. We've said that you are not a mu'min if you don't have khushu' in your salah, and that's what Al-Quran said, right? And then we said, what is this khushu'? We've explained what this khushu' is: relatedness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through your heart and mind, submissiveness, sincerity, etc., etc. And we've given some ayat that emphasize this khushu', and then found out this importance of khushu', and then what's the benefits of salah. We talked about the benefits of salah. All this as prerequisites so that we can understand our salah, so that we can link to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We've talked also about the time of a salah. Now, knowing all this, what we need to also understand is we need to master one cognitive process which is called attention, right? This attention is actually studied and is continuously studied in the psychology field. And it's actually defined as a cognitive process that you concentrate on something and not concentrating on the things that are surrounding you.
Yeah.
Right? So you focus on one particular thing, and this is what we need to master. This we need to actually master attention. But what I think has happened, right, is that our mind has learnt as-salah. And when our mind sort of learns and gets used to something, it stops paying attention to it.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. If we, and I've given this example before, if we drive a car, right, and some of us who drive a manual car, right, and the first time when you will learn about driving a car, they tell you this is gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4, gear 5, and some of them have gear 6 these days, right? So you learn that, and then once you're changing gears, you say, oh, gear 1, gear 2, I have to do gear 3, oh, I forgot, I've gone from gear 4 to gear 5, or whatever, right? You're paying attention.
Yeah.
Your mind, this is new to your mind. Your mind is saying, what is this? I've not heard this before, I've not seen this before. But then again, when you start to drive more and more and more, you don't keep on thinking about changing gears. It comes naturally because your mind has taken it on it's an auto thing, right? As-salah, I find it's a very similar thing, because we pray 3 times a day, 5 prayers a day, right? Our mind, and we keep on repeating the same things, alhamdulillah, and then also inshallah we will go on to varying the second surah. We keep on repeating very similar surahs, the second surah, which a mu'min has the option of changing and things like that. Then our mind keeps on thinking, this I know, so we don't need to pay attention to it. So it's about changing our salah, and I say this finally so that inshallah people will tune in next week. It's about changing the way that we pray, so we tell our mind to focus, in addition to, of course, having understanding of this submissiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I hope you found that useful. Please do keep a pen and paper and make a note of the ayahs that have been mentioned, so you don't lose what has been lost in the show. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Al-Hilli, and inshallah we will be back next Tuesday to continue with this subject, and may Allah assist us all in increasing our concentration in our salah, and we'll see you inshallah. I will be back on Saturday evening inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.